All right, we are live from the Las Vegas Strip. Yay! Oh, okay, not really the Las Vegas Strip. We're about 18 feet off the Las Vegas Strip. We're close. Broadcasting live from New York, New York, or by the time you get it, it'll be 3 days later, but whatever. We are Real Boxing Talk on Real Boxing, about talking boxing and all that good stuff like we usually do. Let's get into it. We have, as is in John's background here, Canelo plant. Sounds like something in the dispensary I was in the other day, but that's another story entirely. We're looking at the fight of, is this the fight of the year, guys? Or is it just the hype of the year?
It's Canelo, so it's part of the hype.
Yeah.
Hype of the year, okay, all right. But we're looking at something where we're seeing, you know, it's not often that you see the guy who's considered to be the guy fight. So let's start, well, I tell you what, let's go back a little bit. Because we were talking a few weeks ago about what we've seen, what we don't see, what we forget about, what we glossed over. And we glossed over one from last week. So, John, in honor of your birthday, told you I'd get it in there some kind of way. In honor of your birthday, kick us off with a fight that we didn't really talk about and a guy that we don't talk about that much.
Talking about that Boots guy, that guy from Philadelphia.
That guy from Philadelphia, yeah.
Well, we've been raving about this kid for a while, and I hope that he showed people why. I mean, I had my eye on him for 2 years now, and just watching the kid develop is just something, and he just gets better and better. He's one of those athletes, you know, that you notice in any sport, you watch them improve. And he started off, he was already good. You know, he comes from a fighting family, and I like the nickname Boots. He doesn't even really, he tried to explain it, and it was like, really makes sense, but
happened,
yeah. His boots are made for punching, because you saw he has power. And Delore was like, when he went down and looked around, I couldn't help it. My mind is like this. I flashed on the old cartoon from the 1940s and 50s again. Did anybody get the number of that truck?
Right.
No, I mean it was like that.
A Looney Tunes kind of look, yeah.
Yeah, and then I thought the most important thing, or one of the most important things, was, you know, this is the opening round, right? We're a minute into the fight. Delore came back and nailed him with a really solid right hand. Delore can punch a little bit. Delorme, I should say. Delorme can punch a little bit. Nothing. It's just didn't even blink. So that was good, because, you know, you're always wondering about a guy's chin. And that didn't exactly prove that he has the hardest chin in the world, but it proves that if he gets hits with a solid shot, even from somebody who's probably past it, the guy who can punch, Thomas Delorme, didn't even bother him, and then he knocked him down again, and that was it. So I was always impressed. I was just sitting there kind of wowing and going, damn, this kid, you know, he doesn't get as much ink as some of the other young guys, but he could be the best of them, you know, because as far as natural ability, and I mean, he is a welterweight. And you could call him the takeover, because he's the young guy in the welterweight division. All the other guys, you know, we got 2 weeks. We got Sean and Terrence. They're in their 30s, and Keith Thurman's in his 30s if he ever fights anymore. Errol Spence is in his 30s. Boots is only 24. So he's the guy. You could see that he's a big 147. So he's definitely going to move up to 154. He'd probably be a middleweight here in 5 or 6 years. So I just loved it, because he's fast. He's got power. 28 fights, 26 knockouts. Very impressive. So it wasn't a star-making performance for me, but for some people who hadn't really seen much of him, they were really loving it. So good for Boots. A lot of controversy about the way his team has brought him along. See, I thought they brought him along right, because you don't have to be in such a big hurry all the time with these guys, you know? I don't know, sometimes they get in a big hurry. Now it works out. Somebody like the guy we were talking about last time, you know, Shakur Stevenson, worked out for him. But taking your time, building him up, letting him move up the ladder, not a bad way to go. He's more than ready. I don't care what anybody says. He's ready for the top guys. He's ready for Spence. He's ready for Crawford. He's ready for those guys. So it's exciting to see what will happen in 2022 with that kid. But that was a devastating knockout in the first round.
Well, it's funny how we do things now, because it used to be it was done like this. But what we're seeing now, Charles, is that we bring a guy along quickly, And then we slow him down as he gets older. You know, we're looking at Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford was fighting. And now he fights once every 17 years. So maybe it's not a bad thing that they're bringing him along at this pace, because now if he gets to the level that we expect him to get to, now he'll be ready to fight. Does that make sense, Charles, or am I just picking a dust in the wind there?
No, I think that's good. I mean, I think it works. It's enough fights under his belt now that you legitimately see if he's worthwhile, right? I mean, so if you throw him out there when he's had 13 fights and then you go, well, he has not had enough time to really mature and develop his style or whatever he's doing, then you go, well, they just did that because they had opportunity thinking they could get a quick payday or something. So it's 50-50. You win, great. If we lose, oh, no big deal. We can always go back to the drawing board. But it kind of cheats, not so much the fans, but it cheats his development because you've been working for so long. And as John mentioned, Boots Ennis has enough fights now that even if you look at the resume, you go, well, I'm looking at this resume. I like to see more, which is my staple, of course, as you know. That's my staple. but even if that's not the case, where I don't see a marquee name, I think he's had enough fights now where it's time for him to kind of step into the limelight, across the line, and get a shot. So the shot is, though, we mentioned about a Crawford or a Spence. You know how this goes. They usually don't have it like that because they don't want to risk it when you watched it to see what this kid can do. So at that point, you got to go just a little bit lower, that line, and maybe go after some other people. And there are enough people over there for him to look at and maybe touch up and prove it. And then you got to walk the line, because if the top guys won't fight one another, how the hell you think they just gonna let Boots Ennis come up in there and walk through? Like, here I am. Where you been?
Who are you?
I won't fight this guy. Why would I take a chance with a guy that, even though talent-wise you may be significant? Back in the day, they would do that, but now everybody's holding on to their pearls and their cash and their IDs, so they're not going to take that risk unless they're going to get a payday. And then two, it just has to make more money, unfortunately.
Well, that's what I was going to say, John. How does he get a fight now? Who can he fight? He's at the point where he's too dangerous to fight somebody good, and he's too good to fight anybody not dangerous.
I said, who are you? Because they asked Keith Thurman before the Bellarmine fight, you fight Boots, and he said, I never even heard of him.
Yeah.
I'm like, right. Oh, come on, Keith.
Right. Yeah.
Give me a break. Yeah. And that's ridiculous. And there was some talk of Danny Garcia. Mm-hmm. And again, see, even these guys, even the former champions, they don't want this kid.
Right.
So that's a very valid question, Frank. Probably what's going to happen is he'll fight somebody lower. They'll give him more money. They'll give the guy lower rank in the welterweight. I don't have the rankings right in front of me, but he'll fight somebody around 9 or 10, and because the big guys won't fight him, they'll be forced into fighting him. Well, to a degree, when you're a mandatory, it might happen, but they ignore that too. But I think one of the top guys will fight him, but they're going to fight him when they're ready, not when he's ready. So, we got a big one coming up, like I said, in 2 weeks, and then we got to see. Earl Spence is going to come back from eye surgery and want to fight Boots. Right. So he's going to have a tune-up next year, probably. I think he'd fight him, though. I think Earl Spence would fight Boots. I do. But again, the thing that drives you crazy about boxing is we just wait. We wait, and these fights are all here. And nowadays, as Charles said, it just doesn't happen like it used to, and I think that's why boxing loses fans, because you get tired of waiting. You wait. It's like, So, but I don't think he's going to get one of the top guys. Yeah, that's a good point. Next, I think he's going to be fighting another welterweight, higher rank maybe than Delorme, but not much.
Charles is going to have to do the Mr. T or the Clubber Lang and show up at the press conference and walk on his doorstep. Hey, Balboa, what you jugging me for? I mean, he's going to have to actually come to him. And, hey boy. Is he going to have to do that, or is it going to be, I just wait for a chance to happen? Is he going to have to go call somebody out?
You can call somebody. He's been calling people out. I mean, he made the call. He made 3 people. But again, it's like, why am I gonna fight you? They don't do that
Right,
anymore.
right.
I mean, it's like, what? Why? Why should I give you a chance? You can talk about my mom or whatever, but you still trying to get to this level. I think part of that too would be now. I'm thinking if you're gonna fight somebody, even though it may not be the name, but the name that pops up in my head is Virgil Ortiz, right? I mean, I'm just saying, why? Why not? Why not? That you
Why
hey,
not? Right,
you,
right.
you say you're going for the big dogs, right? You going there. So let's clear out the middle, right?
Right, right.
Go to the next level. As they say, certain people say you want to go to the next level, then you need to clear out the middle. You need to prove that you are the best in the middle. So, I mean, what? You can go around, let's say, if he's going after these three guys, you went over here one way, he could be waiting 2 years.
Easily.
Right?
Easily.
Clearly. So if you say you are the guy and you ready, then what you do, you keep making steps. And the step would be Virgil Ortiz Jr. It just would be. I know John said, "Oh, I mean, what we gonna do? Either we going here or we going there. You can't. I mean, what?"
I went, whoa, because that'd be a hell of a fight.
You know what I'm saying?
That's why I went, whoa.
So with that being said, if you say you ready, it's time. That when I looked at the list, I was like, okay. Only thing I can see now, because you mentioned Danny Garcia, okay. You know, Thurman, you would take it because of the name recognition, right? You would. But if you really say, hey, I'm ready for one of the kings, because, you know, you could say Sean Porter, but if he loses that fight, he's not going to want to see you because it's too dangerous. If he wins, he may not want to see you because he wants that shot again. It's a lot of, then you look at Ugas, right? Ugas wants his shot at the next level. He beat Pacquiao that way. So if I'm him, hey, you can make money out that fight too. You can make money out that fight. So I'm calling that fight Virgil Ortiz Jr. versus Boots. Let's go, baby. Y'all say y'all want some fire? Let's get it. I'm here for y'all. I'm bringing you fire.
As you always do, which is always scary. But you're right. Here's where you're at. You have to clean out what's the clean outable. And so when the other guys are saying, we need to fight, like, there's nobody left. There's nobody left for you to fight. It's me or nobody else. There's nobody else. Yeah. So are you going to, again, and I know what John's saying is that you're going to recycle Danny Garcia again? Okay. Are you going to say, well, I mean, but if that's all that's left, if you're Spence and you come back next year, who's left? You know, you're going to wait for the winner of Porter and Crawford, or are you going to, who's he going to fight? So he's probably going to go, like you said, John, at somebody a lesser light. Well, if the only lesser light left is Boots, that's what you got to do.
Well, see, I was looking at the rankings, and if Boots can't get Virgil, I bet the guy who would fight him is the Riverside Rocky, Josecito Lopez. He'll fight anybody. Yeah. Fight him. He's not a big name, and he's 36 years old and all that, but he gave Keith Thurman hell, and he always brings it. So that would be somebody that they would like. The Ennis team, you know, they think, okay, that's a guy with a name. That's a guy that fought for the title a couple times. He stopped the other Ortiz, Victor Ortiz. So he'd be a name that they want. And Mikey Garcia is going to have no interest with Boots.
Right, exactly.
So Kell Brook is not going to, even though he's still in the top 10 somehow, he got knocked out by Crawford. No way he's going to want him. So any of those guys. And you're right, Ugas deserves all the respect in the world. He's not getting any respect. Right. None. And why would Ugas fight Boots? It's taken that guy forever to get to where he is now. Why would he risk fighting Boots? He wants to fight one of the established guys. So, yeah, if you're Boots, you're in a good place in a sense because you're so dynamic, but then you're in a bad place because guys are like, nah, I'm not interested. So he'll have to take. And your favorite fighter, Frank, might be in the mix. Mr. Broner from Ohio might end up getting a shot at Boots.
Come on, John. Come on.
I'm just being realistic. That's how boxing is.
John, you know the fight. You write books. We know that. You know the fight. Let's do this, John.
I love it. I love that fight. Bobby Chacon and Danny Lopez all over again, or Ortiz and Boots. But
hey, it makes sense though, because then you're showing that you're real, in my opinion. You're showing that, I mean, all of the other names, I mean, you know, okay, some of them dudes is older. 36 years old? Come on, man.
yeah.
I know you say, well, he gave Keith Thurman hell. Keith Thurman ain't fought in 20 years.
Yeah.
You sound like Frank.
It's true,
But
though.
seriously though, and when, because I was reading up on this the other day, and I said, Josesito Lopez is still, that he fought Willie Pett, didn't he? I mean, it seemed like it was that long ago, you know, and it seems like it was that long ago. And again, not disproving what he can do and not knocking him down, but you know, he hasn't got that shot. Well, I don't know, maybe he deserves that shot. I don't know. But as you're saying, that's the guy now that he's going down, Boots is going up. Maybe that's a fight that they make, but it doesn't prove anything. Okay, here's where I didn't want to go, and I've been avoiding this for a couple months now, but I'm going to go there. Here's where I didn't want to go. Ugas beating Pacquiao at this point meant squat for Ugas. And what I mean by that is you fought a guy who's running for president. You fought a guy who's 74 years old. You fought a guy who is, by everyone's account now, a shot fighter. If that's not true, I would buy into that. Okay, I understand that. But that's the easy thing to go like, well, yeah, we beat Pacquiao, but he's 105 years old. So what? Well, do you know what he accomplished? I know what he accomplished, but what have you done for me lately? Mm-hmm. That's what and this is what Charles is saying. That's what I'm hearing. It's like, so what? You beat Pacquiao. Everyone would beat Pacquiao that day. Well, no, but that's what we're hearing. So now Ugas in that situation is like, now what? How do I capitalize on this? Well, he's not considered to be a true champion, right, Charles? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah. Well,
by the people that matter, I guess.
Right. I do that, but I think that everybody, we said from the longest time now, you know, when Pacquiao came back and shocked the world by beating Thurman, we knew afterwards why everybody was going after him, from Crawford to Spence. Everybody was going after him because they knew he was a cash cow. Because people were saying maybe he can turn that magic on one more time, and they were willing to pay to see that. So that's what it was. So if he loses, you go, well, you know, oh, it's great. He, as you said, it was a beautiful career, and you know what? You can't expect him to keep the old man to keep coming on every time. Right. So Pacquiao couldn't lose. He was gonna make money regardless. Sure. Right. But unfortunately, when you said that, Ugas is like, well, look what I did, and everybody's like,
what'd you do?
Yeah, what'd you do? But because unfortunately he didn't have the respect coming in before. They said, oh, yeah, you should have maybe won the Sean Porter fight. But other than that, because if Sean Porter wins that fight, it's a whole different ball game. But unfortunately, when they don't respect you prior, and then as you said, he beat a guy that was older, and his senior citizenship came out in the ring that night, then he's not getting any love because he wants to fight the bigger guys, but they like, you know. But then too, maybe, say this real quickly, maybe if he can't get, you know, they've already told Ugas, no, he can't. They're not gonna make somebody else's mandatory. If I'm waiting and he's looking around like that, then if I'm Boots, I'm knocking on the door. I'm like, hey, yo, I'll fight you, because that is another step. So John, you don't want to mess with Virgil over there. Hey, Ugas sooner or later is gonna be looking around like, man, they not treating me right. This young guy's coming up. Maybe I will take that chance, because if I beat him, now I'm up. So that's another shot. So nothing else. I think the Ennis camp should start to whisper towards Ugas, because John, you and I both know if he can get that shot with Ugas, get that belt, now it's like, hey. So, I mean, there's a couple different scenarios. You don't want to go that way? I gave you another shot. Now we opening up another tunnel. So it may not happen tomorrow, but it's going to be quicker than the 2 years you're going to have to wait to fight one of the other bigger guys. That's just me.
Well, to me, John, it looks to me like we're back in the wild, wild west. And we got 7 guys that are Gary Cooper looking to retire. It's like, I don't want to fight this guy anymore. I just want to go off in the sunset. I'm cool. And you got another group of guys going, but you've got what I want. It's like, I don't want it anymore. You know, you've got the Crawfords and like, okay, I'm set where I'm at. I'll fight when I have to fight, but I only want to fight this guy. I want to get to whomever, Lana Turner, I don't know. But I want to get to the next thing. I don't want to go back. Yeah, I know. I'm mixing up genres all over the place. I don't want to go back to the guy that just came out of Nebraska with, a couple of pistols. I want the guy, or I don't want anything. And I don't know if it plays out that way. I don't know if you can do that. If you're going to be on top, you got to stay on top, and you got to take on all comers. But it doesn't look like that in that area, in that division, or in those few divisions. And as we were talking about last week, we've got guys coming up that aren't going to be able to stay at 135 and 140 for too much longer. So this whole mix gets in there. We've got a whole slew of people we got to look at. It looks like a nice mix, but unfortunately, like you're saying, it may take another couple of years for it to all play out. What we need, John, ask Charles this to put it together. Ask Charles if he can put together another tournament.
Charles Schaefer down there.
we need a tournament at 140, 147 to shake all this up a little bit. That's what I think.
Obviously, that would be great, but boxing. That's why I was bringing up who Boots would end up fighting, because boxing shoots itself in the foot. They have possibilities of great matchups, but they can't get everybody to agree. They're like politicians. They can't. Oh, this is great. Well, I don't like this part of it. Okay, well, then forget. Then the whole thing gets blown up. Okay. So it's like that, and it's not like it once was. As we said, the Ugas Boots fight is intriguing, Charles. I really like that. I mean, I think Ugas, even though he's 35, and you think a guy's 35 isn't hungry anymore and he doesn't have anything to prove. He's hungry and he's got something to prove. Mm-hmm. He showed that against Sean Porter. By the way, I thought he won that fight against Sean.
Right.
Being honest. And he beat the tar out of Manny Pacquiao. Beat him easy. Not even close. So he might say, like you're saying, Charles, or, Mr. Schaefer down there, he might say, I don't care about that young kid. Oh, yeah, he's good, but I'm good. I can beat him. Yeah. So he might be the only one who's willing to risk it, because he feels like the upside would be huge if he was to do it. Mm-hmm.
Well,
but real fast, though, I'm just going to say, Frank, the tournament idea is a great one, but it'll never happen.
Never happen, right? Well, but the interesting thing about what you just said is perfect, because you mentioned Josecito Lopez, who got his shot earlier and is still hanging on at 37. Ugas really didn't get his shot, so he's hungrier. Josecito Lopez is like, pay me a couple more times. Ugas is like, I'm the champ now. All right? So I think, and Charles, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Ugas will say, put him on the board. I'm taking him down. I don't care. Make the fight. Whoever it is, bring him on there. I want to defend this belt. I'll defend it against anybody, because I believe I deserve it, because I've got 1/4 of what's going on, and they're not going to fight me. So just let me defend the belt 3 or 4 times, and then because he's still, like Johnson, still hungry, and he's still trying to get to that spot. Even though he has the belt, he still doesn't have the respect. So I think he's got to defend this belt 3 or 4 times before the other guys will say, yeah, I guess we can look at unification now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that. I mean, when you look at the intangibles involved, I think it makes sense from the standpoint of Ugas trying to. I mean, because then down the line you can look at a Danny Garcia, right? Let's say Danny Garcia is number 6, but when you look at the fight, it's like Danny Garcia is older. Danny Garcia would jump at the chance to fight Ugas because he doesn't think he's real. It's like, okay, you don't belong here. I'm better than you. I outclass you. That's his mindset. So Danny Garcia would take that fight in a heartbeat, because it would allow him to be a champion again. When you look at the rematch with Porter, Porter's already entangled in this stuff. He already got his shot. So that's going to take too much time. Right. So if you're Ugas, as it was mentioned before, you can take Danny Garcia, but are you going to get to love fighting Danny Garcia, or you going to get more love from the people and more respect from fighting again? Then maybe, here's the thing. That's why I'm mentioning it about Boots Ennis now. Boots Ennis, put your name in the hat, baby. Because if you wait too long, Danny Garcia is going to be knocking on the door. And truth be told, if I'm on the other side in the middle, Virgil Ortiz Jr., like, I'm ranked higher behind him. I want that shot instead of Boots. So Boots, I'm trying to hook you up, bro. Call for the man now. Who you want to call for? Call for Ugas now. Because all I'm saying is with all of the drama and all of the rankings and all of the politics, he might be the guy looking out, be on the outside looking in. So why not call it now when you had the opportunity? Because like I said, Danny Garcia and maybe Virgil Ortiz may be in front of you and they may say, he might have a point. And sooner or later, as you mentioned, Frank, Ugas is going to have to find somebody to fight. You can't go up. So you're either going to stay a little lower and you got to stay with a fight that's intriguing. Also, they can have people watch.
Well, now, you know me. I've been waiting for a segue moment here for the last hour. You just gave me one. The segue is the guy on the outside looking in or the guy on the inside looking even further inside is behind John right now. The guy in the suit staring down on top of Canelo Alvarez is Caleb Plant. Now, we know Caleb Plant has a share of something, if we want to really admit to that. We know Caleb Plant wants more. Can Caleb Plant get more this weekend? John, is that a possibility?
Sure. There's a possibility. I mean, even Canelo said, look, anything can happen in boxing. So, yeah, I mean, this is big because this is undisputed time. Whoever wins is the undisputed super middleweight champion. So that's 168 pounds. So that's huge. And I've always liked his, again, credit. I love his nickname, Sweet Hands. I think that, I like that's cool. But he seems to be a heck of an athlete. As I said, because I can't resist every week mentioning Mr. Ward. He had Andre and he had Virgil Hunter working with him. Very smart. I mean, no matter what happens on Saturday, give yourself the best possible chance. Listen to these guys who really, they're here too, not just here. They got it all here. Virgil is incredible as far as boxing strategy. So he's done that. He's checked all the boxes for a guy who is desperate to win and is giving himself every possibility, every chance to win. Okay, so he has a chance. But as we were saying off air, Frank, he has to get Canelo's respect early. And Canelo is a very fired up guy right now. He doesn't like talkers, and he's getting grouchy as he's getting older. So it's bothering him a little earlier than usual. So he wants to be out on the golf course more than anything else now. So a guy that's yakking like that, he gets annoyed and he wants to not plan out. He even made a prediction. Canelo did. He's never done that. 8th round. So, but back to Caleb Plant. Yeah, he's got a chance. It's just he's got to stun or do something to Canelo to make Canelo not be what he is, which is usually a quick-moving machine who just beats you up very, very methodically and then puts you away or wins a decision. So he's got to get him to be a little off balance. Then he's definitely got a chance. But would I put money on it?
Well, I'm going to stifle my urge to make a stir-crazy reference, sweet hands, but I guess I didn't. All right, now, Charles, John and I were talking about this. We came to an agreement, but you were not here yet. What does Plant have to do to win this fight?
Wow, I'm probably going to be wrong, but I'm going to say it anyway.
It's not the first time. Don't worry about it.
That's true. That's true. But I think that part of it is he has to be mobile. I really do. I think, he has the ability to move around. He has to become more of a boxer. I'm not saying you got that when you run from him in the entire fight, right? But I think you have to use that as a weapon, right? So because mobility has caused people that can move, from what we know of, people that can move and also connect shots can cause Canelo problems. Can't hit him. So he's young. He's shown you. You call him sweet hands. Okay, you got sweet hands because he can move and he's young. And it's like you got to use that to your advantage. The other part of it too is, we heard this and you kind of think it's some old dude talking about Andre Ward, trying to give him some pointers. When you mention, you have to pay attention to what Andre Ward has said. And what we've heard a little bit publicly is he says, you guys mentioned, you gotta go towards the bully and beat the bully. But that doesn't always mean you go directly at the bully and hit him upside his head. Sometimes you catch the bully from the side where he doesn't see it coming, and then you mount an attack. But with that being said, getting inside and understanding being smart, because that's one thing John mentioned about being around Virgil, Hunter, and being around somebody like, Andre Ward. They're going to say, you got to have a plan where the strategy goes where, okay, this first part didn't work. We got another option, and have a different scenarios that he can use depending on what happens in the fight. Your first plan goes, you go into it, it's working, keep doing it. If it doesn't, then let's change up a little bit. So it's what we call a technician. Great technicians, instead of one-trick ponies, have the ability to adapt depending on what's going on in the fight. And I'm not to belittle Canelo whatsoever, but he's not invincible. We know that. And that's what people get caught up in. He's not invincible. There was a man, and probably one of the greatest of all time, that literally moved around the ring, pinpointed and was quicker. Canelo's learned a lot since the Mayweather fight. We know that. I mean, he's eons above the fighter that he was before. But that does not mean somebody else, like when you look at a Cato Plant, can't really look at it and say, hey, I can get in there and I can bang him, because the other parts that we know too is, and the last couple of fights have shown you this, that Canelo came up to super middleweight at 168, and the guys that he beat were either two things: slow as hell, right, and could not move, and then that way they were targets. Secondly, they were not allowed to put themselves in a position to really hurt Canelo. And I think those two things Cato Plant can do. Question is whether or not he can do it.
Well, now, John, this is funny because we're going to take, as you said, Canelo back to the Pleistocene or whatever, when eons ago, when Mayweather beat him. We were talking about something different. What were you thinking Plant's going to have to do?
Well, I wrote about it, and I said that that's true. Movers can give Canelo problems. Billy Joe Saunders is a mover, and he moved around, and he won some rounds in that fight this year until he got hit with that shot that cracked his eye socket, whatever. So that makes it intriguing. But no, I agree with Charles. See, he can't, and he's right with Andre Ward. I mean, he doesn't mean just go in and pull him and then just start backing him up and trying to pound on him. He means let him know you're there, I think. Let him know, because he was referring to the Kovalev fight. But Andre Ward, as we know, fought Kovalev. Kovalev was a monster.
Yeah.
Knocking out everybody, and here comes Andre Ward, and he gets knocked down in the first round, which was him and everybody else watching. But if you remember, he didn't fight him like he was scared of him or everything. He had him backing up at times during the fight, and then as the fight came on, he came on more and more and more and more. So it's a smart aggressiveness. And Plant can move, no doubt about that. He can move, so that isn't an issue. I think he's saying, look, don't be predictable. The minute you get predictable against Canelo, you're going to get killed. Right. So move here, move to the left, jab, spin around. Don't get caught on the ropes. Don't do what he thinks you're going to do. Do the opposite. And that, I think that would be the key. You got to outsmart him, but you also got to get his respect, and that's a lot. And Floyd Mayweather did it easily. No, it was a split decision, ridiculous. Right. He did it to a Canelo who was like 22 years old or something, and you could see Canelo was befuddled. He was like, but that loss was the best thing that ever happened to Canelo. Mm-hmm. And that was the classic thing. It made him a better fighter. He's another one you've seen get better. You're right. He's not invincible. But if he only has an okay night and Plant hits everything perfectly, Plant can do it. But the odds are, I think the odds like 10-1 right now that Canelo will win.
Well, my look at it is this, and I agree with what we said off the air and what you're saying now. But guys, correct me if I'm wrong. Plant will not win a decision.
No,
not going to happen, right? Unless it's really a huge decision. Right. And even then, that's probably a draw.
Yeah,
right? So
unfortunately.
I think he's going to have to come out first round, step on his throat and say, I'm here. You're going to have to deal with me on top of you all night long. And I'm going to have to go after him, and I'm just going to have to beat him down. And I'm going to have to bully him, and I'm going to have to back him up, and I have to beat the crap out of him, because that's the only way he's got a chance to intimidate him or just to beat him outright. I don't think he's got a chance to win anything where if he's sweet hands and he's cute and he's more technically savvy, it still doesn't get him a decision. And I'm not a conspiracy theory guy. You guys know that. But in this situation, in order to beat the champ, you've got to kill the champ. You know, I don't think there's any way that he's going to be able to beat him by beating him. We've seen that. And it's not just Canelo. It's the guy that's in this position. You can't, and Charles, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go back to this. Hagler could not win a decision over Leonard. It wasn't going to happen. He was the favorite. He was the golden boy. He's what everybody wanted. It's not going to happen. Whether that's what you see or not, whether it's, I don't know that the officials are actually thinking that way, but when it comes down to it, that guy that's on the top of the mountain is not going to lose the decision. It's just not going to happen. The only time I can think of that it happened was Spinks and Ali. Can you think of another instance where the guy that was the guy lost a decision that maybe he shouldn't have, or that was close?
Well, I mean, you look at certain things. I mean, and I know that depends on how you look at it. I'm gonna throw one out there. It may not be as clear cut, but I was at the fight, and I still say that even though it was real close, the first Ward Kovalev fight.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was at that. I mean, but I'm saying, but here's my thing with that. I think the only way Caleb Plant can win the decision, right, for me, is the damage, right? Oftentimes when you see a young fighter that's the underdog coming after the champion, you say, oh yeah, he outboxed, he needed, but you don't see the damage. I'm talking about cutting his eye, making the eye, I mean, swelling up where the judges go. It's kind of close, but man, look, he whooped his behind.
Right.
You have to do
That's what I mean, right.
damage to the point where you give them something to go. And the other part I would say too is Cato Plant, even if he doesn't knock him out, you had to do one thing Floyd did do to him, and that's to, when you start beating him up, even if you don't take him out, you got to make him so frustrated that you continue to administer punishment as you go through the rounds. And then it's like him going crazy, trying to beat you up, but you're still saying, I'm in a place tonight. You can come with whatever you want to. I'm putting this jab on you. These sweet hands are on you. And every time I hit you, I'll continue to administer punishment. And everybody sees the marks. Everybody sees tonight is my night. That's the only way to me he can win the decision.
And let me clarify what I meant. It's not just because he's the champ, Kovalev and Ward. It's because he is the face of boxing. They're not going to let him lose unless he gets beat. It's not going to happen. And again, this is not a conspiracy thing. It's just that is the what's going to happen. And that's what's happened for the last 40 years. If you are the guy that everyone says you are the guy, short of Pacquiao and Horn, that, you know, if you are the man that's the face of boxing, you're not going to, and of course we know that happens down under. John, is it possible that Plant can win a decision without doing what Charles said and marking him up, making him look bad? Or is it he's got to be so dominant to win this fight that he might as well just go for the knockout from round one?
It's possible, but you're right. You know, you're right. I remember when going back when Kenny Norton won the decision over Muhammad Ali in the first fight.
Right.
Muhammad was the A side. Who was Kenny Norton?
Right.
He got the decision. And then more recently, Lomachenko and Teofimo. Lomachenko was the A side. Okay. Teofimo won all the early rounds and got the decision. It surprised people. So yeah, he and then remember, even when he wasn't the biggest guy in boxing, Canelo, he doesn't lose decisions. Right?
Right.
He just doesn't. I mean, he lost to Golovkin in the first fight. I don't care what anybody says. I'd argue with a Canelo fan all day long. He lost. In a draw. He lost. It was close, but he lost. Second fight, a lot of people think he lost that one too. But he won that one. First fight's a draw, second fight. Right. So he's not invincible, like we were saying. And Plant, it's just Golovkin is okay. The thing is that with Canelo's never even been knocked down, believe it or not. 58 fights or whatever.
Right.
He was wobbled once when he was younger. I remember I was watching that against I can't remember who, but he was wobbled but since then I don't even think I've seen him buzz. Some might say he was buzzed. Danny Jacobs might have buzzed him, but if he was sure doing a good job of faking it.
Right,
I mean, he's fought guys that are hard hitters. Like James Kirkland, who hit him with some shots. Alfredo Angulo hit him with some shots. He didn't even blink.
Right.
So he took for Plant. He's only got 11 knockouts. I think it's asking a lot for him to hurt Canelo, but he does have the chance because he's fast and he might catch him with something he doesn't see. And that's always the punches that get guys like Canelo, is the ones they don't see. The guys with a great chin, they don't expect it. Boom. They're hit so fast, it affects them. But the other thing that Plant's got to remember, too, is Canelo Alvarez is one hell of a counterpuncher. So he might think that he's got Canelo right where he wants him, and then Canelo's going to come back with a counter shot like he did to Kovalev and knocked him out, left hook, and then a right cross. Boom, done. So, again, it's going to take a perfect performance by Caleb Plant to do it. And he thinks he can do it. He's one of these guys, and you can't blame him. If you've had success in a sport all your life, you're going to think,
yeah.
Right, even if you're only like this, you're going to think, I can do this. I can do this. This guy's just a man. He's not a god. I can beat him. Canelo thinks the same thing. So it makes it like that. But Plant winning a decision ain't happening.
Well, Charles, it's just as if Canelo is I'm trying to think of the best way of putting it, the bizarre world Glenn Coffey Johnson. Glenn Johnson couldn't get a decision. Canelo's not going to lose a decision. It's just not going to happen. So if we go about it, if Plant goes about it doing what he normally does, is there any point in that? And I know what you guys said, and it makes perfectly good sense. That's how he has to fight the fight to have his best chance in a perfect world to win. But is there any point in going about it that way? Because it's not going to provide any results anyway.
Yeah, I see what you're saying about the knockout point, but the point John made about him not really being the biggest knockout artist, that you just going for it. So I don't know. I mean, you can change it, but if that's not who you are, you got to do it. I mean, the fights are crazy. You got to do it what you think is going to be the best thing to get you there. And my thing is, like you said, the damage is the part. So if you got 11 knockouts, how many fights does he have?
Caleb Plant?
Yeah, how many fights does he have? Like,
I don't have it in front of me. Sorry.
Anyway,
that was the question. I didn't hear it.
Caleb Plant,
how many fights Plant have?
Oh, 21.
21, and he got 11 knockouts. Okay,
yeah.
not the greatest thing, but anyway, why go into what's that? What would we call it? Where that the type of suicide mission, where that's not who you are.
Right.
Granted, you might get a shot. Yeah, that's true. But why not just fight your fight?
Gotta fight your fight.
And at least you knew going in, this is where I'm best suited. Granted, I may not get the decision, but people will know I'm in the building. This is going to get me closer to what I think is going to make me have a better chance to what I think is going to win. Because everybody's not set up to try to come out like that too. And what are the chances? Here's the thing. I think, and I know it's crazy, what are the chances of him really knocking out Canelo compared to at least having a chance to doing the damage that he's want to do to possibly be considered for a decision? That's what I'm saying. I mean, you come out, it's like saying, yeah, I'm going to hit you with one hand. And he's like, man, that's all you got? Then I got 11 more rounds.
Right.
or whatever the fight lasts. When he's like, I mean, you can't even hit. What the hell you doing? And you don't have a plan. Then you get exposed. And then lastly, then you get thrown on a heap like everybody else. See? Yeah, just another dude that he didn't belong in with it anyway. And that's Canelo again, back in the depth. Against some inferior fighters.
Well, I look at it as he's going to a gunfight with a pack of Pez. I mean, there's only so much he can do. But now let's look at the realistic way of looking at it. Can he win the fight? John, can Plant win the fight without actually winning the fight? Because We understand that winning the fight on paper and winning the fight and taking the belts home are going to be very hard to do. But in his mind, can you go in and fight the fight that you guys are saying, walk out of the building and say, I don't care what you all said, I won? Can he do that?
Yeah, he can do that. If he gets off to a good start and it's 8 rounds in and the judges have it 4-4, which is possible, by the way, and then Canelo barely wins a few rounds and like wins 7-5 or something, or 6-6, that will be a huge victory for Plant. Even if he loses the decision, he'll won, because nobody's pushed Canelo like that except Golovkin. So that would be big for Caleb Plant. And he's young, but he's not so young. He's 29. He's only 2 years younger than Canelo. So that would be big for him if that happened. But I think I got to go back to what Charles said real quick, Frank. I completely agree. I mean, you are what you are.
Right.
You have to use your strengths. Now, what he can do is if he sees an opening, he can fire his best shot and hope. Because he's not, when he won the title, he knocked the guy down, and a guy had only been knocked down once in his career. So that showed you he's got a little bit of pop earlier in the fight. Doesn't usually get guys out. But take a chance, but you still got to stick to what got you there. What got him there was his sweet hands, his fast feet, his ability to use angles, because he's a boxer more than a puncher, obviously, with 11 knockouts. So you are what you are, you bring what you got, you give it your best shot. It's going to depend on, I think Canelo was thinking he's going to be stalking him the whole fight. He's going to be chasing him. Maybe he'll run into a shot. You saw what happened to Manny Pacquiao when he ran into a Juan Manuel Marquez shot. So, anything is possible. But I'm sure they've both gone over in their brains what's going to happen. And I would bet you money that Canelo thinks he's not going to stand there and slug with me. I want him to do that, but he might. He might do like Muhammad Ali did with Joe Frazier, which was so great. Oh, he slugged with him. Then he back away and move around and jab and make Joe come after him a little bit. So you pick your spots. You don't fight like a tough man contest and wail away. And you move off, right? Then you move away a little bit. Keep them off balance a little bit. So all order, but again, it could happen.
All right, Charles, here's a scenario that I see. And because I'm right every time. So understand that this is what's going to happen.
Every time.
Okay. Here's the scenario that I see, because this is considering what we've been talking about in the last few months, last few years, and adding to that. Let's say that here's how it plays out. Plant shows well and loses, which loses the decision. Okay. But maybe it's a split decision. Maybe everyone in the building knows that he had a good shot at it, but they took the guy that we know is going to win the decision. Canelo looks at it and says, I've got nothing else to prove 168. I'm moving up to 175, which we've talked about being a possibility. He moves 175. Now Plant's left at 168 with whoever, Benavidez and everybody else. Can he take this loss and play it into interim championship and beyond?
Definitely. And the reason why I say that is because what Canelo has showed you what he did at 168 already, right? And not saying that some of these guys that Canelo beat already could not give Caleb Plant some problems, right? But when he leaves that area, it's going to be somebody available to come up and clean up the graveyard, right? It's just what it is. So he's going to be able to come in there and clean it up, and somebody's going to have to do it. And if he does show well enough, which is another guy who might come in and clean it up because he's not getting the shot, that's Benavidez. Benavidez not getting the shot.
Right.
One, because he had an opportunity, and some people think he threw it away because of what he went through and what he did. Yeah. He threw his own opportunity away. So for him to come back and now get in, even though he's making a lot of noise and still showing you that he may be capable, you had a shot, people felt you threw it away. So they're not really looking at you from a different perspective. Like, we really respect you the way that because we gave you a shot. It's like a person, no disrespect, a person with a substance abuse problem or alcohol. You are on top, and now you're trying to make a comeback. Well, who's to say you get another shot you're gonna do the same
No,
damn thing.
put it
you're
away
doing
again.
addicts.
Right.
Yeah, so that's how it is. So I think he can answer your question, but then again, if he doesn't, you can see a guy like Benavidez kind of picking up the scraps.
Well, Donna, it seems to me that I hate to say this because the fight's still a few days away. It's a foregone conclusion that it's going to take a Herculean effort for Caleb Plant to actually secure the belts. Not to say that it can't happen, but there's so many things that have to happen because, as we've said, it's going to be tough for Canelo to just give up the belts other than just getting thwacked out, which what you guys are saying, which I agree with you, is probably not going to happen. That's not in his best interest to even go about it that way. But to me, that's the only way he can really go out and win the fight. All right, so we've said we're looking at Monday morning now. Swelling gone down. Everyone's got to look at what's going on. You know, Canelo's still sleeping with all the belts on. Does it look like it's a possibility? I've beat everybody. I'm moving up to 170, 175. And now we've got a whole new ball game in 168. Or is it Canelo's going to go, yeah, well, I'm still here. What are you going to do? What would be in his best interest to stay? What would be in his best interest to move for Canelo?
I'd love to see him stay to fight Charlo. We've been banging that drum forever, right?
Right.
But
It doesn't look like it's going to happen, right?
Right. His trainer has mentioned Charlo, but his trainer has mentioned Benavidez even more. And, you know, he's undisputed. So in a sense, you could say, you know, well, obviously he's got all the belts. He didn't clean out the division because he didn't fight everybody.
Right.
But he's got all the belts. And he loves, all boxers love those belts. You can't blame them. They're really cool stuff there around your shoulder, your waist, you know, so you got it. So
on your back screen there, right?
Right. He said he was going to fight Charlo. So he usually does what he says usually, but you know, the ambitious quality of him, the ambition that he has, he wants a legacy. So he's already won the light heavyweight title, right? But to face a guy like Benavidez might be a challenge that he can't pass up. And I would love to see him do this and then in May fight Charlo in Vegas. Now that's possible, but yeah, it depends. It really it's Canelo's call, and he might feel like, just like you said, Frank, that he doesn't have anything else to prove at 168. You need another mountain to climb, and 175 would be it. And you know, he thinks Andre is a joke, so he's not going to fight. You're not going to fight him. So he was thinking about it until Andre started talking so much, and that blew that. So much for that. Canelo got pretty salty during that press conference. It was pretty surprising. But you know what? I'm not sure he's going to know exactly what he's going to do. I think, you know, he fought. This will be his fourth fight of the year, which I love. That's great. That's the way a champion is supposed to be. Keep going back, but you know, Muhammad Ali fought 7 times one year. You know, and I told you how many times Randy Shields fought. So I mean, it was crazy in our day. But 4 times, I think they ought to fight at least twice. Definitely 3 or 4 times, boxer I'm talking about. Not once, like you said, Frank, every 17 years. I mean, that is just, it's just ridiculous. You lose all the momentum. People forget about you. You know, fight 2, 3, 4 times a year. That's good enough the way it is now. So I think he's going to rest on his laurels and think about it. It's going to depend. If he feels he's still hungry to prove something at 168, he'll stay at 168 and fight Charlo in May. If he feels like, I don't even care about that guy, you know, at least he doesn't say, I never heard of him, like Thurman said about Boots. Right. But I think the way his trainer keeps talking, I'll say that the chances are slightly, definitely could be wrong here, that he'll move up to fight Benavidez. But you know, that guy, as I told you, that guy's a beast. So that's a scary fight for Canelo. He hasn't been knocked down, but he get knocked down by that guy. I mean, that guy,
that's a tough dude, right?
That guy is beastly. So I don't know. I might want to fight Charlo, then try to move up to 175.
Okay, Charles, we'll let you start this prediction. How will it happen? What will be the outcome?
Well, can I jump on that other part?
Sure, go ahead, please.
Prediction. Hold on for a minute. I just got a call. Okay, is that what it is? All right. Okay, thank you. All right. That was my
Yeah.
play.
It's the bat phone. It's the bat phone.
That's my play uncle, Richard Schaefer. We about to put this down. So here's what we're doing. Here's what we're going to do.
Richard Schaefer.
Here's what we're going to do. John was right on point. Canelo Alvarez during the pandemic, whatever it called you, fought 4 times, and he gave you a lot of excitement, right? So instead of fighting 4 times next year, we're going to give you this. We're going to take care of this business on Saturday, and then how they do it. Because he always now talking about legacy, always trying to make moves. What better way than to do it 2 times and do it on the best 2 times? Cinco de Mayo weekend, moving up to 175 to fight Better Be There, right? Everybody and their mother gonna be there watching it. Then you take care of that business, and yeah, it's a monumental task, monumental risk, but he says, I'm Canelo, I can do this, right? Bring him to America, I'm even better, right? So we're beating America in my house. Then we got that done, and now I really want to make some real money, want to make some real noise. If we come back on the real Mexican holiday in September, right? And then we're gonna fight at 168. We're gonna fight Charlo. Let's go, baby. Canelo does that. He's the greatest of his time and so many other things. And it's what people want to see. It is a master plan. Thank you, Uncle Richard. We're ready to go. Let's go.
Well, John, now this is something that, again, you mentioned Better Be There, and everyone has, but the idea being, is this a fight that Canelo, I don't want to say he cherry picks his way through, but this is a tough battle. And not to say he's backed down from tough battles, but as you said, Better Be There is a beast. So do you do it in reverse order of that, just so you make sure you get the money? Or do you go, I've got nothing to lose?
Canelo, yeah, he takes risks. I mean, if you know anything about his career, when he fought 2 guys that gave when Oscar De La Hoya and him were friends, gave Oscar fits. Oscar didn't want him to fight him, but he said, "I'm fighting him." Oscar Trout, who a lot of people thought that he might have lost to, he knocked Trout down. And then Lara, who's the mover that drove him crazy, you know. And that fight, definitely he could have lost. Should have been a draw. Should have been a draw. No worse than a draw. I watched it. So he likes to take chances. He's that way. And you know, sometimes it explains it when you know about a guy where he came from. You know, and Canelo Alvarez, you talk about he's the classic success story of a guy who came from nothing. It's like Manny Pacquiao. You know, his brothers were all fighters and everything, but they never made it anywhere. Right. He came from nothing. So he's lived life sort of on the edge. You know, he was kind of a troublemaker when he was a kid. He was always getting into fights. He was lucky. He parlayed it into an ability to make a living and do extremely well. Lucky that way. But the way where he lived and the area that it toughened him up, and I think there's a mindset with people like him that they're not scared of anything. So Beterbiev, yes. Dmitry Bivol is another good light heavyweight who's not lost. Bivol is good too. Now, if he took Bivol, people would say that he's avoiding Beterbiev. Right,
exactly.
So he knows that. So, you know, if it was me, I think I didn't quite hear everything Charles said, but I think if who did you say he would fight Cinco de Mayo? Who would Canelo fight?
He fight Better Be There on Cinco de Mayo.
And then go back down and fight.
Yeah, because I mean it's right there. It gives him enough time to kind of drop the weight, right? And granted, I know everybody talks about Better Be There being a monster. We get all that, but you and I both know, as far as recognition is concerned, the money fight is Charlo.
Money fight is Charlo, right?
September, the real Mexican holiday. Come on, man.
Yeah, I hear you, but the riskier fight might be Beterbiev. See, that's the thing. The only thing about Beterbiev is that I've noticed that if you can get him later into a fight, which barely anybody ever does, then he looks like he's susceptible.
Almost,
so,
yeah.
You know, Canelo can box too when he needs to, so he might be able to, or not might, he will be right there. I don't know if I might flip it and just do Charlo first, but I mean, I hear you. Either way would be incredible. Either way, it's set up. The dates are perfect, May and September. that would definitely work either way for him. It just depends on what he wants to do, you know. And he's been calling the shots. He's been doing a great job of managing himself. And he manages himself. You know, he doesn't have a manager. He decides what promoter he's going to work with. He signs a 1 or 2 fight. I mean, you know who he learned that from. He knows exactly what he's doing, and that's good. And a boxer should be controlling what's going on, you know, because so many times in history, managers just screw them. You know, they just steal from them like crazy. Canelo, there's no way is that going to happen. So either way that works, you know, I don't know if I might just to stay at 168 because Charlo he'll give Canelo a fight. No doubt about that. I mean, he's got skills. He can move a little. He can punch. Both of those fights are very challenging fights, even for a guy like who's only lost once in 57 fights. Definitely big fights. Then, you know, but then real quick, I meant to say that I'm going way back, but I meant to say this before. That's how my brain works now that I won't say how old I am, but it clicks 20 minutes later when I should have said this before. Some guys like Danny Garcia and them, they're ready to retire pretty much, I think. They don't have that fire anymore. So you have to always take that into consideration. Back to Canelo, he might be the same age or a year younger than Danny Garcia, but he's not even close to retirement. He's at the prime of his career right now and loving every second of it.
Well, I see this as being something where, I hate to say it, we know what the outcome probably will be just because of the way things play out. But the result and how we get there should be interesting because we can get at the end of this, we can get a unanimous decision or split decision, or whatever, by Alvarez, and we know in our hearts that that's not what happened. And I think the real testament to what happens, the real fight of this comes after this is over. And as Caleb Plant came out and said, hey, I won this in my heart. I won this. My people are saying that. Now let's parlay that into something. Because we know Canelo has a lot of ways he can go, but I don't think, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, we'll talk about this later, I don't think that he wants to stay at a division where he didn't want to fight anybody in the first place. As you said, John, the risk and the risk reward is to go to Beterbiev or Bivol. The risk reward isn't to stick around and wait for Benavidez or for Charlo or Andre. If you wanted to fight them, you had already done it. Right, Charles?
I mean, yeah, I can see that. I mean, I just don't think that he has the respect for Benavidez. I just don't, because if that was the case, he would have fought him by now. I mean, he's right there. I mean, you talk about Benavidez, maybe Plant has the belt, but Benavidez will be right there because he's saying, I got the power, I'm ready. I was up here first. And it's like Canelo's not even hearing anything he's saying.
Like he's not even on the planet.
Yeah, he's bypassing you. So I think that's how that would be. I agree with you 100%. You also mentioned about the prediction. As much as this bothers me, I'm going to say this. I would like to see Caleb Plant do well, and I might bet better than that. But I think it's going to be Canelo Alvarez is going to knock him out in round 6.
You heard it here first.
Round 6.
Yeah. Huh?
Yeah, you know, I one of the keys to watch everybody is what happens when Canelo lands. And he clips Plant with a solid shot. If Plant reacts badly, I'm talking about early, it's done. If he doesn't react and just keeps going what he's doing, then the fight could go longer. But I also, here I go again. See, we're a tag team, Charles and me. I think he's going to win later than that, though. We missed it by a round or so with our other prediction. I'm thinking about, not 8. I'm thinking 9.
9?
And if he doesn't, obviously he'll win a by decision. I don't think it'll be really controversial. I think it'll be close for a while, and then Canelo they'll just leave him in the dust because he'll just come on and win a decision like that. But I'm thinking stoppage in round 9.
All right, I'm going to go out on a limb here. Technical draw in the 4th. No, I don't know. I have no idea. I do know that you're both right about a decision, or I think it gets to the point where it's not going to be a decision. It is going to be a stoppage. I'm going to split the difference, and I'm going to say I'm going to go lean more towards John. I'm going to go to the 8th.
Okay.
I think it's going to
There
be
you
more
go.
towards the 8th. Because I think he's going to wear him down. He's going to play with his food a little bit. He's going to show what he can do. And after about the 5th or 6th, he's going to say, okay, I've had enough of this, and I'm going to take care of business. So there we have it, folks. We just spent an hour and a half talking about something we could have done in the first 3 minutes of the show. Anyhow, it's been fun, though. And it is, well, that's what we do. It's been fun and it's been interesting because, again, and I said this earlier, because this is the guy that we consider to be the face of boxing, or he's been thrown at us as the face of boxing. So when we say that, we have to understand that this is a show. This is something that's going to happen. And I think it's going to be interesting because I think you're both right. He's not just going to come out and just manhandle Sweet Hands. He's going to come out and he's going to take care of business. And Sweet Hands has a chance to compete and make himself look good. I don't think he's got a chance in hell to actually win the fight by the standards of walking out of there with the belts. He can win the fight and not get the belts. So there we have it. Once again, on the Ultimate Sports Network, we're having fun. We're talking real boxing and boxing talk and all that stuff. Live tapes dead from Las Vegas Strip. We're having fun. And there's no better way to close it than that. So, bye-bye.